because they were expecting the whole business industry to shut down. But exactly something quite opposite happened, which is
are temporarily closing their plants in India.
A full-blown unemployment crisis was already looming over the Indian economy.
they generally work with outsourcing partners like TCS's, Infosys, Wipro, Cognizant, Accenture. In 2020 and 2021, they ended up hiring 1 lakh freshers. There was something called as Great Resignation. Attrition typically at TCS is somewhere around 17 to 18%. That is, every year 17 to 18% leave the company. The attrition rate shot up from 17-18 to 30-31.
We are in the middle of the Great Resignation. The term was coined by Anthony Klotz.
Indian IT industry gets a lot of revenue from US. Now, this is not a Shadi.com profile wherein I'm trying to matchmake you based upon what are your hobbies and my hobbies. Yes, have different resume for different companies. We got Donald Trump fighting with India and all the countries over tariffs. The top 10%, 20% will never ever have any problem. So, survival of the fittest is my answer.
So hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Prepping Stars podcast, where we decode everything that matters to your career. I am Akshita Jadhav, your community manager at Prepping Star, and today we have someone special with us who has mentored millions of students and also Prepping Star's founder, Mr. Atulya Kaushik. So welcome to the show, Atulya.
Hi Akshita, thank you very much, and we've done 1 or 2 podcasts a little earlier as well, and the feedback of the students was, that it was very helpful. So I wanted to do it again, which is why we discussed that. The other side, the other time I was the one who was taking the panel, and
Yes.
I guess Kush, and then somebody else was answering all the questions. But this time it's quite opposite. So you ask all the questions, I'll tell you everything in my capacity, in the interest of students, whatever I have to share. So excited.
So Atulya, let's start with the bigger picture.
Hmm.
If we compare campus placements in 2022 versus now in 2025, what's the biggest shift you have noticed?
So I guess that's a very important question for us to answer, because anything that I tell students in terms of how do they prepare for campus placement, they need to understand the history about it and how it has changed over the years. So I'll take you back to COVID. So when there was COVID initially, 2020, all the companies, the product-based companies, service-based companies, practically everybody stopped hiring for about 4 to 5 months. But then because they were expecting the whole business industry to shut down. But exactly something quite opposite happened, which is they started getting humongous projects. The reason being, so for example, Nike or Walmart or any other company which is basically, or Costco and Adidas, etc., all of them were having their businesses via retail stores, which is physical presence, right? But then they had to pivot immediately because they are running a big business, right? They have to pay people salary, etc. So they had to pivot their business to extremely online, right? Now most of these companies, they don't generally have in-house tech projects, right? They generally work with outsourcing partners like TCS's, Infosys, Wipro, Cognizant, Accenture, to have for them create their apps, website, internal tools, etc. So because of all of this surge in number of projects that were incoming, and even with product-based companies also, for example, Netflix use shot up humongously because people did not have anything to do at home. Even Google, Amazon, all of their searches, all of their sales shot up. So even with product-based companies, there was a lot of hiring that they ended up doing that year. So just to give you a context, because in India, TCS is the largest player, and generally their trend is followed or is a significant contributor to how the industry is moving overall in India. TCS, which typically used to hire 35 to 40,000 people every year, or freshers every year, right? And they used to have about 4 lakh employees in total. So 10% fresher hiring every year they had to do, which is something that they did in 2018, 2019. In 2020 and 2021, they ended up hiring 1 lakh freshers. So almost 2.5 times number of people. Now, one reason is because they ended up getting a lot of projects, so they had to hire a lot of freshers. The second one was there was something called as Great Resignation. which is people who were working at TCS, because Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, and other companies, which generally pay a little higher than all of these, service-based companies. They also got a lot of projects, and their pay package is much higher than TCS's, Infosys, Wipro. So a lot of people resigned from, let's say, these traditional service-based company to a little higher notch product service-based company like this. Same thing happened with those, for example, Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, etc. These mid-tier but higher paying service-based company, people from there switched to product-based companies. So a lot of experienced people with 2 to 3 years of experience, 4 to 5 years of experience also resigned from their current role. So there's something called as attrition. Attrition typically at TCS is somewhere around 17 to 18%. That is, every year 17 to 18% leave the company to a different company. The attrition rate shot up from 17-18 to 30-31. So all of these people, they had to also replace via freshers. But what happened in 2023? The sudden boom in the IT industry because of COVID, their revenues increases, became stagnant because obviously the whole country was opened up. People came back to their offline way of learning, offline way of shopping, and they were done with their projects also, and they did not anticipate the growth slowing down. So even 1 lakh people, not 1 lakh, 75,000 people TCS hired in 2023. They had to put them on bench period for a long time, about 6 to 7 months, 8 to 9 months, which is basically that they are paying these employees, but these guys are not deployed to any projects. They reduced down their hiring in 2024 to about only just 20,000. And then further in 2025, we are sitting, right? Now, they were planning to hire 35 to 40,000 people. And then the statements were given by, the top CHROs and the CEOs of all of these top companies. But what ended up happening was we got Donald Trump fighting with India and all the countries over tariffs. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, and Indian IT industry gets a lot of revenue from US. Primarily, approximately 30 to 40% of their revenue is just based upon US. Some companies have a little more with Europe, some Latin America, etc. But primarily US is a primary revenue driver. Now, they've imposed apparently 50% tariff right now. So these companies are a little hesitant right now in terms of their future growth outlook. So they've paused on or reduced down upon their hiring efforts right now. So that is one part. The second part is because of generative AI, artificial intelligence, big data, all of these automation tools, human productivity tools coming in. If earlier they needed approximately 10 people, now they need, I'll say, 8, because their work is being automated. Even there are platforms like Devin, there are platforms which help you write code. So there was this one very interesting fact that I saw on one of the Instagram posts, and I hope that's true because at least in my mind it makes sense, that the peak traffic on Stack Overflow was in 2022. And now it's reduced so much that it is back at the same level of what it was 2018. Now, Stack Overflow is the primary driver. So let's say if I'm not able to solve a code, so I generally search on Google. Most of the articles about debugging that code is found on Stack Overflow with the help of the communities helping you solve that. Now, the same Stack Overflow wherein people used to get stuck for 7-8 hours figuring out what is not working, it's eating up their brain. ChatGPT tells you in the next 2 to 3 minutes you put in the code. So the personal productivity has also gone up. So, however, these companies will be back with hiring, but primary skill that they would be looking for in a person that they are hiring at fresher level, experience level would be that even if you could be a full stack developer, or even if you could be a backend developer, or you could be a Gen AI developer also. With Gen AI, you have to be skilled with Gen AI. But if you're a full stack or a backend or a data or a SAP Salesforce developer, you need to know generative AI. You need to know artificial intelligence, machine learning to perform better at your job. Definitely. So new age skills is something that people should pick up. Hiring would be back again. And I always say this, that somebody, even though number of opportunities reduce, but somebody who's at the top of the skilling game, the top 10%, 20% will never ever have any problem 10%, 20% in their skill level will never ever have a problem in terms of finding jobs in the market. So survival of the fittest is my answer.
So, Atulya, if I am a college student, I cannot just depend on my college placement.
So ideally, you never should have to. So let's say even when we were getting peak hiring, right, during COVID also, generally the trend that I saw with people was that, okay, I got a college placement of let's say 4 lakh, 5 lakh, 6 lakhs, but they were happy with it. But ideally, you should look for off-campus opportunities even then. For example, let me take my example only. I got placed in 8 different companies in my college. So I graduated from VIT Vellore with the highest package, also the most number of packages from or the most number of offers from college, both of them. So, but my first job that I got was, so they have a bracket of, till 4 lakhs you can have unlimited offers. Between 4 to 10 you can have one offer. Between 10 and beyond you can have one offer. So that's a limitation that college puts. So the first offers that I got was of all same day all the mass hiring companies announced their result. 5 mass companies visited. I got placed in TCS, Infosys, Wipro, Cognizant, and Accenture, all 5. Then, so basically day one, this I can have unlimited offers. But then I didn't stop there. I was like, okay, let me figure out some higher package offer. Then I still continue to sit for campus placement. I got offer from, there was one company called as Oracle, there was one company called as ZS Associate, which was 8-9 LPA. Then I got that offer. But continuously I was preparing over the 3-4 months duration. After 1 or 2 months, I still kept trying. There were companies that visited in my college, 20 LPA, 25 LPA, somehow got rejected in at least 10-15 of those. But then I got placed in another company called as Instamojo, which was between 10 to 40 LPA, right?
Okay.
But so that was my college campus placements. But still, even outside of college, I applied off campus to multiple opportunities. And off campus, I finally got placed in Google, which is something that at my time they were paying 43 LPA as the CTC. Obviously, you get a lot less in hand because a lot of that is stocks, RSUs, etc., etc. So eventually, it is not more than 2 LPA and so on that you get in hand every month. But at least in 2016, in college also I kept on applying to multiple opportunities. Outside of college also I got an opportunity which was humongous. Now, this is an analogy that I give to all the students, because the psychology here is you studied all your life, starting from let's say when you were 3.5 years old till 18. You studied, got good marks in class 6, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 12th are obviously important. What was the goal? Were you getting marks to get good marks in class 10th and 12th? No. You were getting good marks so that you can get into a good college. And then during the college time also, you were getting good marks or you were studying just to get a good job. So practically, if you look, 3.5 years, say, till the time when you are in college, you were eventually actually preparing for a job. You were going to IIT institutes to prepare for IITs, NITs, college exams, certifications, courses, college exams, and everything, even internal assessment, just to get a job. But finally, when it is about getting a job, that is when I see students putting least efforts.
Right.
Why? You were studying 8-9 hours every day in your class 12th, but which was basically to get into a good college. Finally, when you're in a good college or a decent college, right, you are putting 1 hour or 1 day before the exam you're studying. So that's one attitude problem, but still that's fine. Even I flunked in college 2 to 3 subjects. And I had an 7.98 CGPA when I was sitting for placement. Uske baad I got 8.2 CGPA eventually when I graduated. So I was an average student in college. But during placement, what most people do is they start their preparation when actually placement starts. So July companies start visiting, you will start your college placement in July. Somehow, hopefully, I would like to say I was a little more mature, or there was a lot of pressure from my family, I don't know. But I started my placement preparation in March only. So basically what happened was, since I started my preparation early, I had a head start with all the other people that were in my college because they only started in June and July. So when the higher paying companies were visiting, I was prepared the most. I was clearing the written test. I was clearing the online test. I was clearing the interviews. And Maybe somebody who started in July was a better coder than me, had better CGPA than me, but then even after, let's say, they prepared for 4 to 5 months, at the very end of it, they were better knowledgeable than me. But it's just that I was a little earlier. So practically what I did was 3 to 5 months of early starting in my preparation. What ended up happening is I was able to save 5 to 6 years of my life.
Right.
So I simply say, give 3 months, save 5 to 6 years, because for you to go from 4 LPA to 20 LPA, it'll take you 5 to 6 years, at least in IT industry. But if you put in extra 3 months, you can directly start at 20 LPA, and then after 5 6 years, you will be at 40 45 LPA or something like this. But it's a conscious choice. The gut feeling or the hard work effort or the motivation has to come from inside. Obviously you can get motivated from people over the internet, right? Obviously I'm trying to motivate
Maybe
people
from this podcast as well.
here also I'm trying to, in a way, maybe in a negative way, but hopefully people take it in a positive way, trying to motivate people to put in the effort. But the effort eventually has to be put down with you. Even for people who are watching this now, I will say that maybe you've not started your placement preparation, maybe you're not fully prepared, and after listening to me, you're thinking, okay, already time is gone, what is the need to prepare? No, you start your preparation now. Off campus opportunity, anyways, the hiring season has been delayed. Companies which were TCS, which was supposed to already start their hiring, hasn't started their hiring because of Donald Trump, tariffs, etc. So they will postpone it. They will not cancel it, because they will obviously need to hire freshers, because they need to reduce costs. Experienced person costs 20 25 LPA, same freshers they are hiring for 3 4 LPA, right? So they will hire. Start now. So that is one thing. Second thing, and I guess a few questions that you'll ask later, and I'll touch up more upon that, is it's always survival of the fittest. So even if you're preparing, you need to have good projects, good certifications in your resume. So use your time to get good certifications. Yes, you can study from YouTube, but eventually companies are looking at what certification you have from reputed companies. Like, and I'm not saying take it from Prep Insta. Generally, I think Prep Insta is the best place to be. But then I will also encourage alternatives like that. Maybe you don't like Prep Insta a lot, fine. But in the interest of your benefit, I would say get a certification from Upgrad, get a certification from Great Learning, Scalar, Coding Ninjas, or whatnot. But make sure that you're certified by a reputed player that company respects. So when they are interviewing you, they at least have this certification to validate you as well. Because if you don't have that certification, a lot of companies, their hiring recruitment processes like that weightage of their marks that are given in the interview is also based upon certification. At least 30 to 40% of marks is just basis for that, is this person certified in the skill that he's claiming to be? Because all of us know college curriculum is so outdated, and if you're learning anything on your own from the internet or from courses out there. These are the people who are also engineers, who know the truth, and they are interviewing you. So eventually you have to find jobs. Off campus hiring opportunities we also post. Otherwise, with most of these certification players, even including Prep Insta, we also have a sister brand called as Career 24/7, also have placement assistants. So TCS typically would hire 25% of their freshers every year via third party vendors like Prep Insta, Career 24/7, Scalar, Upgrad, Simply Learn, etc. So you take up their course and then you will have that opportunity. Or otherwise, they always announce their off-campus hirings as well. First they do on campus, then off campus, then via hiring partners. So opportunities will always be there. It's just that don't rely upon college campus placements. Even if you've gotten a college campus job, still try outside to increase the package. And if you have not gotten it, so in that case, eventually you will have to prepare for something, or you can't sit at home without any job after college. So either you will be going for higher studies or you will be going for government job prep. Both of them are very difficult and time consuming.
Right.
Prepare off campus, prepare for off campus job, get an off campus job.
So Atulya, what's one mistake students make during placement season?
So, one to nahi. I've been in the industry for very long to be able to identify a lot of mistakes. One is not starting soon enough. And even after understanding, let's say it's a little late, people then Second point is people then procrastinate. Okay, now I've delayed it so much, then let's just not do it because there's no hope.
Yeah.
But as we spoke in the last question, nothing is delayed. It's just that, okay, you realized it a little late, you started a little late, but you eventually you have to get a job. So now is good enough, or whenever is now for you is good enough. So that is one. Second thing is not getting certifications, as I spoke in my last question, last answer, that companies are looking for people who are certified, because eventually when you join a particular company in IT, so let's say if you are working in KPMG, example ke liye, my brother, he works in KPMG. He got a project for a company called as MasterCard. Now, even though he's skilled developer in uh, uh, Azure and GenAI, the project was supposed to be on these technologies only, right? Last 2 saal se he was working upon the same project, but his certification, he did not have a certification in that, and he's working in the same company for the last 2 years on it. Now the company MasterCard's requirement was that we will only allow people in your company who have who are certified in Azure, who are certified in GenAI, by anybody. They don't care. But we will not even share the laptop. We will not even share the password of the laptop, because even though you have a laptop given by KPMG, but to work upon MasterCard ka project, you have to work on the laptop assigned to you by MasterCard because of privacy reasons. So even though laptop was sitting at home, until unless he did not get the certification, the company was not allowing it. Now KPMG knows this. So what they do is, rather, because then you join KPMG, they will spend 3 to 4 months on bench period, then training you in a particular skill, then certifying you in a particular skills. 6 months only will go in this thing. Then only you can be deployed to a project. So companies have preferred to hire candidates who are already skilled and certified,
Right.
either from a third party hiring partner. For example, let's say us or Career 24/7, which is our sister company, or let's say Upgrad. Upgrad ka somebody did a data analytics course, or Career 24/7 ka somebody did a data analytics course, or Prepinsta ka. They got certified in it. The company is part of their hiring network. They trust it. They will hire. Obviously, they will take an interview and test ke whatever you learned in the certification, do you know it or not? But they would prefer somebody with a certification rather than somebody who has the knowledge but does not have a certification. So prefer hai. The answer is not that all the time it will be like that. Nobody can replace the knowledge that you're having, but there's a preference. So these three things: starting early, getting certified, last thing, projects. So I always say the same dialogue every time, that your mom will not ever hire somebody who's a cook just by listening to the recipe of how you make dal tadka.
Right.
She will ask that, come 2 days, make some dishes, let me taste it. If we like it, then you are hired full time. Right? Same thing is with developers also, right? By just looking at your resume, you've just given the recipe about you. They need to see your actual dal tadka. Right? So they need to see your projects. So in your resume, there should be projects, GitHub profile, YouTube videos of if it's a hardware project. And even in the interview as well, companies will ask you that you've done this certification or you've done a lot of projects, show me the project. So you have to open up your laptop and show the code, click upon play button, run the code. So these 4 things.
So, as you were saying about the resume, Atulya, I would like to know what actually resume plays a role.
Okay. So resume plays a very important role, right? Even whenever we even hire here at Prep and Staff, at least 70 to 80% of the people we reject just basis for resume. Sometimes the content in the resume is not good. Sometimes it's almost like a kid. Because I've seen resumes wherein people have written hobbies like dancing, cooking, traveling, etc. Now, this is not a shadi.com profile wherein I'm trying to match make you based upon, let's say, what are your hobbies and my hobbies, does the interest align? I've seen people writing MS Office, MS Excel, Photoshop, Camtasia, all of these skills. No, I'm hiring you as a developer. Why do I need to know that you know all of these other things? Or let's say, why do I need to know that in class 5th you won some maybe debate competition is fine, but let's say you won some drawing competition or something like this, right? People, I would personally like to see, and there's a boring template of resume, and I'll ask Sheikh, who's part of our editing team, to put somewhere here on the screen. Your resume should be very boring. It should be straight to the point. It should just talk about the certification you've done. It should just talk about the projects you've done, the languages that you know, the events that you've participated in, hackathons, etc., your lead code, your LinkedIn, your GitHub profile, and most importantly, if you have certification, then put up the link to the certification wherein people can see the certification. You can upload it, let's say, on your GitHub profile only or anywhere. If you have done projects, as I said, link to all of those projects. Somebody can, even if it's, let's say, a resume shortlisting, your interview is not even being conducted. Somebody can click upon that, see the code, see the project. If it's an interview, they will see it and then ask you to show the laptop.
Okay. So if a student is applying for different roles, for example, software developer or front-end developer, so the student should have a different resume for every role?
So ideally, it depends. Well, there's no right answer for this. There are different approaches. So I would generally say that yes, have different resume for different companies. So for example, Cisco, Texas Instruments, all of these hardware companies, they would want to see hardware projects. They would want to see a lot of more back-end code, networking, your certifications in CCNA, CCNP, operating system, etc. So in that case, that is fine. Let's say if it's a data analytics company like Deloitte, PwC, Mu Sigma, Math Company, ZS Associates. So in that case, if you have done a little bit more about data project certification, then you need to highlight that a little more, maybe bold those pointers. If it's a product-based company or a service-based company and your primary skill set is in front-end development, so then you need to highlight that. So it's almost like it's a matchmaking of your skill and company's requirement. So they share the JD. You try to match those items there.
So Atulya, I would like to know, will AI is actually going to replace human beings?
So actually, that's a very philosophical answer, but I'll tell you my personal opinion, and everybody can have their own opinion per se. I'll go back in history. So primarily, if you look earlier, people were asking the same thing whenever there's a technology shift, right? So in industrial age, or let's say, let's even go before that, people used to think that, earlier they were using horses and horse carts to travel from one place to another, right?
Yeah.
And then cars and motorcycles, automobiles, etc. came. So everybody was like, okay, there would be a lot of job loss. A lot of people will get replaced. At least 70 to 80% of the people are employed in transporting people from that slow process of things, right? But what ended up happening was that, let's say, somebody from horse cart, or let's say goods from Silk Route, they are transferring from Persia to, let's say, China from Silk Route. If it used to take, let's say, 50-60 days for them to travel from one place to another, after automobiles and everything, and now there are airplanes, etc., but let's say automobiles, same thing would take approximately 5 to 6 days. What ended up happening was people upskilled, or with the tools that they got, they started doing their work faster.
Right.
And because they were doing their work faster, there were two things that happened. First, they got more time for leisure. In earlier time, people were working, sleeping, but now people are having more time for leisure, going outside, watching movies, spending more time with friends and family. That is one. Second thing is, new types of jobs got created because of automobile. Obviously, the industry revamped a lot. So what I think personally will happen with AI is same thing will happen, that we will be able to do our work faster. New types of jobs would be created. A lot of jobs would be done quickly. AI would be able to solve the most complex problem in pharmaceutical. Let's say discovery of new drugs would be a little faster. People would be able to live little longer. A lot of our space exploration could be our next frontier because of it. So new type of jobs being created, people will be employed in that. But yes, people will have more time for leisure. And there's this concept called as UBI, which is Universal Basic Income, which is already implemented something like this in US and India, that government would pay you for a specific amount for you to just survive, and you can choose to work or not choose to work based upon it. So for example, and it has already started happening. If you look in Europe, your education is free, your healthcare is free, even in school, your food and everything is absolutely free. And a lot of companies, a lot of countries actually also pay people who are unemployed, people who are mothers get paid for a duration of 2 years and something like this. even in India, we've seen that now the government has started paying
Yes.
2,500 rupees
Yes,
every
for-
month in your bank
yeah.
account. Why? Because now the government can afford it.
Yeah.
The government has more resources, and then it can take care of its people a little better. So, but at current stage, no, AI will not replace humans. Humans will have more time for their leisure. Humans will be doing different kind of job. So at least in the context of our users, what I say to my younger brother also, he was asking me the same thing about 2 to 3 years back. He started his career, and he's now working in Gen AI. And I kind of pre-anticipated that AI would be the hot topic in that duration. He had an offer which was paying 3-4 lakhs extra, but as a front-end developer, and he had another offer wherein his profile was going to be about data scientist. He generally converted into a Gen AI engineer eventually. But then I told him join as a Gen AI engineer, because let's say if people in the IT industry, let's say, end up getting replaced, you will be the last one to do it. In fact, you will be enabling it to do it. So what I generally say is that if you want to have a future-proof profile, get skilled in something that is hot, like a data analytics or a data science or a generative AI engineer or a machine learning engineer. Even if you are doing full stack, still get certified in all of these things, because you will find ways to do your job faster. There are tools which companies are asking that, as a back-end and a front-end developer, know this in Gen AI and then still work for us as a front-end or a back-end developer, but you have to know Gen AI.
So let's be real, Atulya. How can a student learn AI and get placed?
So first and foremost thing is, and this is something that I've been also actually doing, use ChatGPT and conduct mock interviews with that. So just ask ChatGPT that I have gotten a company called as, let's say, TCS or Infosys, or as a full stack developer or a data scientist. Let's do an interview. Do an AI voice talk with it, and it'll be asking you questions, and then you will be answering the next question, answer. Then at the very end of it, ask ChatGPT, tell me how was my pronunciation, give me points out of 10, things that I can do in terms of improving my pronunciation. Or let's say, what did I answer incorrectly? How could I have answered? Let's say ChatGPT asks you, explain me object oriented programming. You answered in a certain way, but then ask ChatGPT that, with this answer, do you think how right I was? Should I have added more examples, and so on? So this is one way. Second thing is, again, with your resume also do the same thing. There are tools like Rezi, spell check, grammar check using Grammarly, etc. that you can do. Even with ChatGPT also, you can, not ChatGPT, but there are other tools with AI also that you can explore over the internet. Upload your resume, ask it how I can improve it. I'm applying for this particular company. The job description is this. Upload the job description also, upload your resume also. And ask ChatGPT or any other AI tool that you're using for recommendations on how you can do it. Actually, I've created a list of 5-6 other tools, but the length of the interview would be a little more. So I'll ask my team to pause the video, show it on the screen in terms of what all tools you can use to improve your chances of getting placed.
Or else we can do one more thing. We can mention all the links in the caption as well, so students can go through it.
So we'll also mention in the captions also. If in case my team forgets it, comment down and we would then.
Yes. So Atulya, when you were saying about the ChatGPT, you can just talk to ChatGPT about the interview. So we did another podcast with one of our student called Kevin.
Okay.
So he was placed in Zoho.
Okay.
So he did this. I mean, he used to talk to ChatGPT. He used to do his mock interview. It is already there in the podcast as well.
So that's good. Actually, we are also building a tool internally called as Interview Bar, wherein we are creating a ChatGPT wrapper, but the learning data set of it is basically ours, wherein because we have approximately 1 lakh people who've gotten placed with more than 10 LPA offer letters. And with 2,000, 3,000 of those, we've actually conducted video interviews that how was your interview, what were the questions asked, interview experiences, approximately 10 to 20,000 of interview experiences video. So we've uploaded all of those as a data set. So obviously we've trained all of this on the ChatGPT wrapper. We'll be rolling that product out very soon. It'll take some time, but it'll be out there as well.
So in short, basically, if we don't learn AI, we will be replaced by someone who actually knows how to use AI, right?
Yeah. So that could be one way. You have to upskill yourself to stay relevant in the industry. And actually, that's also happening in the industry. If you look at TCS announced that it's going to lay off approximately 12,000 people, which represents 2 to 3% of their organization. But they, at the very same time, also mentioned that we will continue to hire. They've said that we have 6 lakh people, we will be 6 lakh 30,000 people, let's say, in the next 1 year. So they've not said that we are doing this to reduce cost. They've mentioned rather we are doing it for productivity gains. We are doing this for people who are working in those technologies which have become very old and are probably resistance or are showing a lot of resistance in upskilling themselves into newer technologies and are not performing well in that case. So if you don't learn a skill that is relevant in today's time, then obviously you will get replaced not by AI but other humans who are more skillful than you. So AI will not replace humans, humans will replace humans. Humans who are better at skill chain or higher in skill chain have better trending skill set. Those guys will replace you faster than AI would.
Definitely. So Atulya, there's a lot of hype around AI, but behind the scenes, what companies are actually using it for?
So multiple things. Obviously, the first and foremost is productivity gains, right? Eventually, there are our CEO says, Bimal, that there are only two things that happen in a company. One is revenue, second is profit, right?
Yeah.
So you have to increase revenue, reduce your cost so that you can have more profits. And how will you do that? You will be basically doing that by increasing productivity per person, right? So if companies are, let's say, if it use, or let's say for a task, if it used to take 8 to 9 hours to be able to do it, with the help of AI, you are able to do it faster. In fact, when we were discussing this podcast, a lot of pointers that you gave to me, that okay, this is Atulya, these are the pointers that you can do. You did most probably did it via ChatGPT, which was a smart thing to do. If
Which
ChatGPT
made my work more easier.
faster, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you would have done the same thing, it would have taken you approximately 5 to 6 hours. But then you were ready, let's say 10 minutes, right? So you're able to do your work faster. Same is with developers also. Same is with business managers also. Same is with every other people in marketing as well, right? So even marketing, UI, UX people, there are tools that basically suggest them that okay, you were most probably trying to create a circle or a triangle or something like this. This Photoshop, Adobe, After Effects, all of these tools are doing that. So that is one thing to reduce down upon timing. Second thing is a lot of this is upon decisions that companies are making. So, for example, let's say if there is an underperforming business unit in a certain particular district in India, with the help of AI, they can just upload all of their MIS, all of their revenue, profit, etc., everything to, let's say, ChatGPT, and ask it recommendation or build their own LLMs and machine learning algorithms which can recommend them to their own customization. I'll also tell one example. So, for example, my younger brother, okay, I keep on talking about my younger brother because that's the anecdotes of what I hear, because he's a generative AI engineer. So one of his project about 1 year back was for internal project for KPMG, wherein, because KPMG is an auditing company, consulting company, and primarily taxing component they look a lot. So they used to have a lot of PDFs wherein CAs were looking at those PDFs or financial contracts, and those 300, 400 page financial contracts that two companies have signed, MOUs that they've signed. It used to take them 10, 20 hours to probably go through the single PDF. But now they created an internal AI based upon the current knowledge of the company, which basically gives them a summary of the same thing, customized to the company's business practices. So it's not just simple chat GPT. It's customized to company's business practices, their their compliances and everything. Now, the goal of his director of business unit was that right now within this particular business unit, there are, let's say, 200 people employed in as a chartered accountant. I want to reduce that number by 25% in the next 1 year by optimizing it. So in a way, if I'm to talk as a engineer, as a generative AI engineer, you are more likely to probably keep your job because maybe you're automating stuff for people in marketing, design, compliances, legal, etc. But definitely a good time for developers is what my thought process is. So making better decisions, one, doing product or making increasing productivity per person.
So before we wrap up, Atulya, we have these two buzzwords called agentic AI and vibe coding. Can you break it down for us?
So that's a very Gen Z concept, and I am a little old to be able to understand that, but still I'll try. So what I know about vibe coding is I used to be developer long time back, right? So but I've come to be managing business now. So vibe coding is basically you're using the pre-existing tools out there in the market, all the devins in the world, all the ChatGPTs, rappers, etc., to make your product shipment time a little faster, execution a little faster. So it'll assist you in all the things. So let's say if you're making a front-end website, right? You do, let's say, 10 to 20% of the work, and 80% of the code is written by the agent, or let's say the AI that you're using. It could be any productivity AI that you're using. So primarily it frees up the user to actually work upon the logic building behind the code, or the thought process, creative thought process that the person has. So earlier they were doing it already by hand, but let's say if you're writing a function, it'll almost write the 80% of the function with you. You can customize it according to your logic building a little bit. So that's primarily vibe coding. It's a Gen Z concept that has come to be. Agentic AI is, again, it's kind of replacing the manual processes that we've already had. So for example, there are tools like N8N, there are tools like Zapier. Even earlier we were using Selenium to be able to do so. We were coding there. But now agentic AIs are there which can do your work. You need to tell it that this that we need to do. So for example, earlier within our company, we were doing that. We were running ads on Instagram. We're downloading all the CSV sheets that these are all the leads. Then we were uploading it to our LSQ or internal sales tool, and then people were calling it. But now we've used the N8N and the Zapier. Automatically, it knows that at 11 a.m. every morning, I need to download this Excel sheet. Then I need to upload this Excel sheet to this Lead Square tool. So one person's job, which used to take 10 to 15 or maybe 1 hour of the time because they had to do it multiple times, automatically an agentic AI is doing it. So I'm able to focus, or that person is able to focus more upon tasks that will create more revenue rather than mundane, boring tasks.
So if a student is learning this, it's good for them.
Yes, because that's what companies are hiring them for, right? That you need to increase your profits. You need to work upon things and automate things. So the best case scenario. And if they are able to do it or demonstrate it with the help of certifications and projects, the best way forward.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a wonderful session, Atulya, and thanks for coming for this podcast. And I believe our students have learned a lot of new things today from this podcast.
So thank you again. We wanted to do a very short podcast of about 10 to 20, 30 minutes at max, but I guess the duration is a little longer. I guess the reason why probably because you asked a lot of good questions, and I actually wanted to give an expanded answer so that I can guide students, mentor students a little more. So it was fun. We'll do it a lot more. If you liked anything, make sure that you comment. If you have any questions or suggestions about, let's say, the next topics of podcast, please comment down, and we'll take feedback from it and do podcasts on the same topics, or I'll also reply to some of the comments that you give.
So for our listeners, here's your challenge. Update that one thing on LinkedIn. Try one AI tool this week and start your placement prep today, not later. So that's it for today's episode, guys. Don't forget to share this with your placement buddies. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, like and comment. And we will see you in the next podcast very soon. So keep learning, keep growing. Thank you.